Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week on the Grappling Rewind Podcast. In this week's show, we're going to recap Fight to Win 129 in Chicago, Illinois, the Third Coast Grappling Qualifiers, their second qualifiers, Rise 8, and then we are going to preview the AJP Queen of Mats and Fight to Win 130 in Denver. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, joined with my co-host,
Emil.
How you doing, Emil?
I'm doing fucking awesome, dude. I'm hype.
It's good, isn't
about
it?
the spider news. We're going to talk about it in the news.
You want to jump right into that?
Let's jump into it.
Let's go right into news. Spider has announced its names for who they're going to feature on their who are they going to feature in the Spider tournament this year?
It's huge. So as per usual, they have two brackets. I'm just going to read through the names here in no particular weight class order. We have Nicholas Marigali, Kainan Duarte, Gabriel Arges, Inseon Zhang, Jonathan Alves, Mateus Lutes, Claudio Calasanz, Shane Jamil Hill-Taylor, Levi Jones-Leary, Anderson Muniz, Tim Spriggs, Edwin Najmi, Mateus Gabriel, and Leandro Lowe.
Man, if you're going to yell into the mic, I got to move it a little further away.
Dude, I can't help it.
It's awesome. So Spider runs an under 76 kilogram division and an over 76 kilogram division. And so you can figure out from those names who will most likely end up in either one of those weight classes. They're competing for $250,000. We're pretty sure that's US dollars too.
Yeah,
I think that's the total prize pool. I think so. It's like, I forget exactly how the breakdown works, but it's like, it's a lot of money, which is why you have those giant names headline. I mean, on that bracket.
It's absolutely stunning bracket. I mean, like those are going to be amazing matches.
And that's coming up like real soon.
Yeah, end of November. I think it's November 23rd.
Is that actually that far away?
Yep, November 23rd. So they just announced it. So we still have about 4 weeks out to anticipate this.
To preview it, to look up names for Emil to may or may not run some ELO
I'll probably
numbers.
do that just because it's, this is the perfect event for that.
Exactly.
You have big names, so there's a chance that there's a good deal of data on all of them.
And potentially...
It's a small enough bracket that you can analyze it. And
there's a lot of co-matches. Guys have already faced each other before, so we have data on that. So potentially, Emil, if you haven't looked at it, Emil runs occasionally. He'll do like...
graphical
stuff for like he did for Kasai and a couple other things we've done. When there's a small tournament with big names, he'll run like some statistical analysis on it, and I'm always really happy when you do it. So let's see in other news. In other news, we did an interview with Seth Daniels at Fight to 128 in Philadelphia that I've finally finished editing and released today.
Hell yeah.
So it is on our YouTube page. You can find that out there now. It's about a 30-minute interview. Seth gave us a bunch of time, and it's a really cool interview. I've already got some feedback from a lot of people. They're like, hey, it's a really good interview.
It's an awesome
not just
interview.
people on the show. I've had a couple people independently message me like, that was a really good interview.
Yeah, it was super appreciative. We're super appreciative of Seth's time.
Oh, yeah.
It was great to pick his brain a couple weeks after ADCC once things had kind of calmed down a little bit.
I don't think things had calmed down at that point. Seth was still like, I'm still very tired.
Yeah, but I mean, at least,
a little more manageable.
Certainly, yeah. And, he had some really great thoughts on ADCC talking about that, the directions that he wants to go in. So absolutely go and listen to it. It's an awesome interview.
It's a really cool interview, and he's got a really cool perspective on, like, he's got a very Seth Daniels perspective that is really, really cool to listen to. Let's see what else we got. Askren versus Maya happened.
Yeah.
The grappler versus grappler. We don't talk about MMA a ton on the show, but it was. I just love that Maya finished. He ran a trick Ben Askren. If you haven't seen it, spoilers. That's on you at this point when the show comes out. And then gets up on the cage and yells, "Jiu-jitsu, jiu-jitsu!" But I love it when dudes knock people out and just yell "Jiu-jitsu." You're like, are you joking? Are you serious? But Maya gets a rear naked choke. Some people have done some really cool technical analysis of this match. I think BJJ Scout did one beforehand. And I think there's been a couple things that have come out after the fact. If you're interested in MMA analysis, there's some really cool stuff out there for that matchup. It was nifty. Happy to see Maya get a win at 41 by submission, showing that good jiu-jitsu.
That's dope.
It is dope. Let's see what else. Wagner versus Ty Rotolo was announced.
Yeah, that is an interesting matchup. So this is a Fight to Win headliner.
Headliner, baby.
Yeah. The old guard versus the new guard. We'll see how it goes down.
Is Wagner really the old guard, though? Like, he's still, like, what, second place at ADCC?
Oh, yeah.
Ty Rotolo is still... yeah, you're right.
I mean, more like in terms of styles, that's not to say that Wagner obviously has a lot of high-tech, like...
the float passing system
absolutely.
he does, the smothers, like the way he transitions to the back and the body triangles.
The kind of like smash mouth kind of like approach to jiu-jitsu versus Ty Rotolo brand spanking new. He's how old is he?
16?
16? Yeah.
16.
We saw him take it to Paulo Miao, so he can obviously hang with
He can
the
hang
big
with
guys.
the top.
Yeah.
Like we saw him. He takes 4th at ADCC as a 16-year-old. He can hang with the top. You told me 4 months ago this matchup's happening. I've been like, now I'm super amped for this matchup. Like both guys have a pathway to victory here. Again, it's hard to count Wagner out, but dude, with Ty's run at ADCC, like.
Yeah.
That's a good matchup. I'm super actually excited to preview that matchup in a little more detail when we get closer to it, but that was announced this week, and we're trying to do more big match announcements in the news section. Other news, Kyle Bain was awarded his black belt. We've seen him win a couple of things recently. I think he won the Brown Belt Invitational, and he won something else recently as well, so cool to see him getting promoted. Gordon Ryan and Lachlan Giles have, I wouldn't say have beef, but like they are going back and forth with it. BJJ World has been putting out like great screenshots of like them going back and forth on their page. And like I follow BJJ World for just like what's new in beef.
Right.
Because that dude is up to the minute on like who is beefing with who and who are trying to set up matchups.
Yeah, this seems more like from what I saw, it seemed like Lachlan was just trying to get a charity match to go down, like a charity rubber match. I think that's awesome. Hopefully they can work it out.
I'd watch it.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
Gordon was going to put up 500,000 and Lachlan was going to put up 5,000. And like I think they've since moved a little away from that. But honestly, I'll watch the matchup again. Like it's an exciting matchup. I think we've seen Gordon take it like recently, and it's potentially not going to go, I think, much differently. But I'm a big fan. Whatever I can get both of those guys to compete, like.
It's dope.
I'm down to watch it. What in other news? What else do we got? A bunch of guys are trying to fight Askren. A bunch of guys are trying to fight Maya. Let's see. Rewind Redacts. Last week on the show, I was like, this is Andre Maneco's first time doing Fight to Win. I was incorrect about that. I had a couple people actually link me videos of Maneco on previous Fight to Wins. That dude is very good. We will talk about his Masters match here in the recap section for Fight to Win, but I'm going to try to get a little better about redacting things when I'm like blatantly incorrect. So that's this week on Rewind Redacts. What else you got?
I think that's it, man.
Rachel's getting purple belt.
Hell yeah. Congratulations,
so that'll be
Rachel.
later this evening. Basically, we're gonna finish recording, and I'm gonna sprint to the gym to go like be her uke for like part of that. So it'll be good.
Awesome.
Move on to the recap section.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So on to a recap of Fight to Win 129. This event took place in Chicago, Illinois on October 26th and paid out a total of $33,862 in salvage commission. It was headlined by black belt. Actually, not headlined by the Talita Alencar match. It was headlined by the Dante Leon match, wasn't it?
No, Talita Alencar and Catherine
it was
Perret were the
headlined by Talita Alencar defeating Catherine Perret via split decision. You want to start with this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So we saw Catherine Perret at ADCC, and
this is a champ versus champ matchup for Fight to Win.
Yeah.
This is like some high stakes.
It's a big deal.
This was definitely, I think, a little more tentative for both women. We saw a significant portion of this match take place on the feet. Both were kind of jockeying for position. It didn't really go to the ground in a significant way until the last minute, 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, it was almost entirely on the feet. Moments of amazing wrestling. There was a moment where Talita shot for a double and Catherine countered with an awesome whizzer kind of throw. And at one point, they go off the mat and onto the walkway.
Yeah.
At the end, Talita pulls guard and briefly gets like a guillotine grip for an attempt. And, that probably sealed the decision right there. So it was a great scrappy match.
Yeah, Talita's now the champ.
Yep.
Which I think this is just for... was this about? It's not listed in the results about it. Might have not been for a belt, but these are two previous champions that Fight to Win.
Right.
I should have actually known that.
Yeah.
Want to go to the next match?
Yeah, we got Andre Maneco defeating Mark Vives by decision.
Andre Maneco.
Yeah.
It's was Viana's coach in Chicago.
Yep.
Maneco is a gangster. Both these guys have met each other. Mark and Andre, the commentator was actually really good about talking about this matchup, are both like Chicago legends.
Yep.
Maneco was like a top IBJJF ref for years, and like that shows. Maneco is in Masters 4 and does not move like it at all.
No, he was... dude, he had that amazing flying armbar early on in the match.
The beginning of the match, like the opening for the match was him shooting a flying triangle, and then like it looked like a good setup, and then he like falls off to like this really deep flying armbar, and Mark Vives just eats it and like eventually is able to like worm the arm out of it, and it was super impressive. We've seen Mark, like there was a while we were covering Mark, I want to say like once or twice a month on Fight to Win, probably back in like late 2018, he was just super active, and there was like they were having to bring in like guys in the Chicago area that like didn't know who he was because he was beating so many guys. So it was really cool to see this matchup, like this Masters. This is a Masters Plus title, and like both these dudes brought the heat for it.
Great 50-50 leg lock exchanges. Maneco also gets a good guillotine kind of headlock later in the match. Yeah, as you said, moves insanely. Both of these guys are insanely
Dude,
quick.
at one point, Mark Vives hits like a really, really nice like scissor sweep with like the far side arm on the sleeve of the lapel, and it's just beautiful. Text him out. Andre like techs out and gets out of it, and they go back to the feet. Like, this is a really, really exciting matchup. I have no idea how these dudes move like this at Masters 3 and Masters 4.
It's dope. Yeah, absolutely.
It was an awesome match. Maneco takes that via decision and is now the Masters Plus middleweight champion for Fight to Win. This was actually a really fun match. This was one you should actually go back and watch. This is anyone that says like old guys can't do jiu-jitsu, they're wrong.
Yeah.
This was an amazing match. Honestly, people have been sending me Andre's matches from earlier Fight to Wins. Like, that dude has some highlight reel matches in Fight to Win. I think his match on Fight to Win 33, it was like, it's dope. So go back and watch this match. Moving on to the next match.
Yeah, we got Jessica Flowers defeating Annette Stack by decision. Lots of pressure passing in this particular match. Next, we have Dante Leon defeating Isaque Bahinese by guillotine
And
choke.
that was submission of the night for the black belts.
Woo! Oh my God. You can hear Dan Dykeman going absolutely ham during one of the snapdowns by Isaque. Isaque has insane snapdowns.
Dude, he's
Holy
really
shit.
good.
It was awesome. So yeah, the snapdown was dope, and then I laughed my ass off hearing Dan yell in the background. He's like the unofficial.
We're gonna talk about Dan here in a minute.
Yeah,
he had a dope ass match too.
He's a competitor, and he's like Fight to Win's unofficial hype man, and just part of Team No Sleep. But yeah, so Isaque shoots a single, misses, and he kind of leaves his head out for a split second.
Isaque tends to drive really hard forward, which is like because he's like aggressive when like the way he pulls that.
This wasn't the case where he shot the single and then he just kind of it didn't work, and then he paused for a second, and Dante just scoops his head
Dante's
right up.
a really dangerous guillotine guy.
Oh,
like,
100%.
We've seen it over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
And like he just locks up, and then he like also scoots his body up a little higher. He locks it in, and then you see him.
At one point, he had the leg over the shoulder. Dante had the leg over the shoulder, almost like a necktie position.
He always like folds over really well with that guillotine. When you see guys tap like high level guys with the guillotine, they tend to do exactly what Dante does. They get a really good bite on the neck in transition, and then they fold themselves in, and they fold like the body underneath them, and they get the legs. You don't usually see guys get tapped in guillotines super low on the body. The legs are usually really high because you can get the angle on the hip to pull the neck in better. And this is exactly what Dante does.
Yeah, so Dante has his leg over the shoulder initially, and Isaque stands up and goes to slam him, and Dante really, really deftly goes to kind of like more of a closed guard with his legs, gets slammed, and then immediately gets the choke.
Yeah, super, super tight, dude. I've kind of slept on Dante Leon. Like, let me caveat this. Before his big run at ADCC, like, he's really good. We thought he was like a top guy, and I was always kind of like, I'm not sure if I pick him. After ADCC and after this, like, he is a front runner for almost anything he's going to be in, especially with a win over like Isaque like this.
I will agree with you in that I didn't see him doing things like taking Lucas Lepri's back, or choking out Isaque Bahinese, but like we did at the end of last year when we were kind of recapping the year, like talk about our recommends matches, and we did talk about fighters that we recommended, and Dante Leon was the first person that we talked about, really. Like, we knew that he had exciting matches.
You're right. In my head, I was thinking this whole week, I'm like, I haven't been sleeping on him that hard.
No, we talked about him.
I remember that. We were
talked
talking
about
like, because we watched him kind of break out. We saw him look really, really impressive at King of the Mats.
Yeah.
King of the Mats 5, I think.
Yeah.
And we saw his wrestling, and we saw him on Kasai.
Yeah. We just saw him put on really entertaining matches. It's awesome to see he is entertaining. He has an entertaining style, and now he's also competing at the highest level. So,
and getting wins at the highest level, like over like world champions.
Yeah, world champ.
I think he's definitely a guy we see shine more in nogi, but
I should say Isaque Bahinese is the world champ.
in the gi.
Yeah.
In the gi. And I think Dante's definitely more of a no-gi player, but dude, beautiful match. Go back and watch. It's what, like 2 minutes?
Yeah,
less than that.
Yeah, it's pretty
really quick match. Like really impressive performance by Leon here. Next match.
Oka Ocasio defeats Richie Tobar by decision. Mauricio Oliveira defeats Matt Layton by decision. Aaron Brooks defeats Rafael Rodriguez by triangle. Nick Masalayo defeats Josh Passini by decision. Jeff Ake defeats Mike Sim by decision. Steve Patterson defeats Mike Sim by decision. It's back-to-back Mike matches. Caio Cesar Oliveira defeats Dennis Dombro by decision. Leonardo Silva defeats Blake Classman by toe hold. Tommy Woodruff defeats Michael Hagel by decision.
On to the brown belt results.
Nicholas Salas defeats Joshua Chavez by toe hold. So that was
submission of the night for the brown belts, and he becomes the brown belt lightweight champion. Gonna skip over my shit, Emil.
Yeah, dude. Well, this was a fucking crazy fast match. It was under 40 seconds.
It's quick, dude. There's a couple quick finishes on this card.
Nick pulls guard. He omoplata sweeps, knee bar attempt, and then he finishes a toe hold all in under 40 seconds.
It's like whoop, 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 like the whole like transition leg lock sequence, just really great work.
Yep, deservedly.
And for a belt.
Yep.
Like that shows you like Nick's a dude to watch when you have a title match in fight to win, because those are not like Seth doesn't just give those out. You've really got to earn those. So you have two guys that really earned those matches.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick Salas. This is the dude that Daniel Myra told us to watch.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So this is the match that potentially Daniel Myra is going to take for the championship. Gave it to Nick Salas. Yeah. I know we should definitely keep an eye out for Nick Salas.
Yep, he's awesome. Jim Fritz defeats Dan Hart by decision. Brad Shemluck defeats Jim Williams by bread cutter. Kyle Perkins defeats Christopher Hansen by heel hook. Sean Joseph defeats Paul Doe by decision. Sorry. Leo Offer defeats James Mikas by armbar. Johans Moore defeats Adam Sipos by Americana. Troy, the Night Pigeon Everett, defeats Elias Cepeda by decision. So there's great sweeps back and forth here. Awesome guard pass by Troy to Neon Belly. And it ends with him in that really dominant sort of headlock from side control, which you Maine like to do a lot.
Yeah,
so I was like, I've seen this plenty of times.
You felt this a few times.
Yes.
I was like, why is he holding on here?
So at the end, Troy sits for an ankle lock. So I think between the headlock and the ankle lock,
I think those are what get it done as well for that match.
So Yusuf Al Ghul defeats Aaron Rodriguez by armbar. Anthony Kalina defeats Mike Layton by decision. Vinicius Silva defeats Alex Seaver by decision. Dan Dykeman defeats Michael Rhoda by toe hold.
This is a late replacement match.
Yeah.
Like, very late replacement.
Hell yeah. Dan looked fucking awesome in this.
Dude, there's an Instagram video going around. If you don't follow grappling, which at this point you probably should if you're going to, watch professional jiu-jitsu, there's an Instagram video that Flo posted of this finish for Dan, and I was like, God damn, this is a really good sequence.
It's a good sequence because it's not just like a snap toe hold out of nowhere.
No.
It's a long sequence. I mean,
it's a long sequence of control too.
Yeah.
You watch Dan control through every single position down the chain and eventually get there and kind of go for some other stuff along the way and then lock that toe hold and just get the finish.
It's really fucking good guard work by Dan, yeah.
Yeah, and I really love a lot of times you see guys that are Dan is a flashy guy. That's why we like covering Dan. We like him watching him fight to win. But Dan does the flashy stuff, but he also has a lot of control in those positions, which a lot of times you don't see guys have. So it's really cool to watch the sequence, watch him control the legs in the position all the way through while going for stuff, and then get the finish at the end of a control sequence.
Yeah, ultimately lands in saddle in almost like a knee bar position, and then gets kind
of reaches far back, and
it's an awesome sequence. Go and watch
really
it.
good finish, and it's on it's on Instagram.
Yep.
So go find it. Purple belt results.
So Julia Balmonte defeats Mikey Vives by decision. Alex Diaz defeats Dave Chapman by decision. Michelle Dominique defeats Lauren Cusera by armbar. Rob Cal defeats Martin Schutz by paper cutter. Brian Kranz defeats David Heineman by guillotine. Bill Meyer defeats Mark Aguinaldo by decision. Gregis Wittek defeats Ryan Camonier by decision. Steven Gladhill defeats Matthew Astosio by decision. Mike Damkes defeats Sam Mognolo by decision. Robert Ellison defeats Andrew Wang by bow and arrow. John Pontarelli defeats Matt Garidi by decision. Daniel Mark Cavert defeats Matt Lim by Kimura. And Brett Bond defeats Scott Giller by triangle.
Dude, Chicago brings it.
Hell yeah.
It's a great card. We had a lot of fun watching this one. Anything else on this one?
No.
All right, on to the next one. So I want to recap of the Third Coast Grappling Qualifier, the second qualifier they ran. Third Coast runs a qualifier to get into one of their big events. They run a women's qualifier and a man's qualifier, but on this event, they ran a couple of super fights as well, and I want to talk about two of them. We're going to start with this one. Which one?
Let's start at the top. Let's talk Lucas Valente versus Bill Cooper.
Dude, Lucas Valente looked good.
Yeah, it was pretty dominant on his part.
Immediately pulls guard, and then Cooper goes to stand, almost like he's going to slam, and then Lucas kind of loops under the leg, gets a nice, ankle sweep over. Cooper reverses, so he gets back to the guard. No points are scored. And then just kind of gets to the top.
Yeah. Lucas is able to get to the top and basically get a textbook armbar.
Yeah, and Cooper tries to kind of roll out. Cooper tries to defend. Gets the top. Valente ends up going belly down on it and finishes, I want to say, in
a minute and a half.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Just really good. We've seen Lucas look good before. Bill Cooper, we've seen struggle a little bit recently. We saw him on World Shows Jiu-Jitsu. We've seen him look good, but he definitely has some hot and cold performances now.
Yeah.
So on to the next match, we had Jordan Holy versus Pedro Mourinho. Now, I think Jordan was a replacement for this. It was originally supposed to be Roberto Jimenez. A rematch between these two. So Jordan stepped up and definitely gave up a little bit of size versus Pedro.
Yeah.
And
there was a noticeable size difference there.
Yeah.
Also a little bit of jawing, I guess, before.
A little bit. Apparently, apparently there was some words exchanged on social media before this match. So Pedro was a little upset.
Well, yeah, Pedro was he was just smashing Jordan
Looked good,
during this match. Yeah.
You saw he passed. So Jordan pulls, and Pedro knows that Jordan's going to pull, and immediately goes and picks the leg, gets the 2 points. So Third Coast Grappling uses a tech fall system. So it's first to 11 gets a tech fall or by submission. If you don't win via submission, and you don't get enough points to win, you go into the overtime, which is kind of like a not really an EBI overtime style, but it's like a first to score, golden score kind of overtime. They're revamping that, and they're kind of changing it event to event. And so we'll cover it in more detail in the December 7th event that they're running, which is stacked, by the way.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, dude. I can't wait to preview that. I'm actually probably going to that one live.
Yeah.
I'm going to make the flight down to Texas to do that.
That's worth it.
Dude, it's a good looking card. So yeah, Pedro gets on top, gets the points, and then he stays really heavy on Jordan's head the entire match. He does not want to engage in the leg battle at all, because we've seen Holy tap some good dudes very quickly with leg locks and kind of catch guys out, and Pedro is going to have no part of that. Gets the headlock positions a lot, gets top, north, south a ton. There's a reset, and then they get back in. Pedro passes again. He's up 8-0, and then he uses my absolute favorite technique. One of my two favorite techniques. He goes from side control and he steps over with a guillotine grip into a mounted guillotine.
Yeah.
And then you're able to just crank the hips in. This is my favorite thing to teach all my students at the gym, because I think it's really, really effective, and it bypasses a lot of the half guard transitions you can get while going over to the mount.
Yeah.
With the neck. Really, really great position, and he just locks it up. He just arches into it, and he gets the tap.
Hell yeah.
Not a whole lot more on that. Anything else on those? Any other matches you want to talk about?
Nope.
All right, moving on. So moving on to our recap of Rise 8. Again, a couple matches we're going to talk about. There's a heavyweight tournament that took place, which featured a balance guy, Ed Brazeley. And there was a big super fight between Frank Rosenthal and Tapia.
Yeah. Frank Rosenthal is obviously he's one of the Henzo guys.
Mm-hmm. He's a DDS guy. He's one of the guys just on that He's a main squad guy for the most part. I mean, we see him on main events for stuff all the time.
Yeah, especially things that are based in New York or
yeah. We also see him on Battle Grapple, and he travels a fair bit. We've seen him on Finishers.
Yeah,
versus Krikorian.
He's kind of one of the prototypical leg locking guys from that gym.
Definitely, he's definitely a rising guy that you're going to see significantly more of, because he's main eventing almost everything he's on now. He's a really, really he's a really good leg locker.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'm actually going to do an interview with him coming up for something we're working on as well.
Awesome.
So that would be, I'm excited for that.
Yeah. So Frank looked really good. Actually, in this case, I was surprised to see Tapia try to like do a lot of seated guard with him, and
because Frank's entries from seated guard are good, and Frank does that really so this match happens. There's some single leg X work, and Frank does a really nice entry into the saddle position, that backstepping kind of saddle entry that's like I want to say the textbook saddle entry.
Right.
Is really where Frank gets to, and it's like those dudes are so good at dropping into that saddle from that top position and going underneath.
Yeah.
It's just a really, really nice entry.
It's super dangerous. Yeah. So at some point, Frank is able to get to the position, like he's able to get the grips where he feels comfortable.
And you see him start going up the positional chain of the legs.
The leg entanglement start, and at that point you are in his territory, and he's able to secure a heel hook.
It's really good. And Tapia does a good job fighting the hands for a while, but Frank's just kind of able to keep the position, keep the knee line controlled the entire time. But eventually does the nice heel hook where you basically extend and you straighten their leg out, and then it's so hard to get the leg bent again and to grab the hands that Frank can just kind of have all this leverage to work. He drops the shoulder under, grabs the heel hook, and there's some roll that can happen there, but it's from that position, it's so difficult to free the knee line to alleviate the pressure that, Frank's able to get it done. So Frank is now the 145 pound champion of Rise. I think this was actually a defense of the 45 pound belt. So I would assume that next Rise, we're also going to see him defending one of those two belts again. Again, looked super dominant as per usual. There was also a heavyweight tournament that took place at this event, and we saw Ed Brazeley, who's a balance guy. We've covered Ed before on SAGC. He's been on Sogi. We see him
He's huge, yeah.
He's a big gentleman.
He's huge.
He's like, what, 6? Like...
Probably 6'3", 6'4".
6'5".
Yeah.
Dude, he is a large gentleman. And we see him get to basically the heavyweight wrestling game, just kind of does that like push, and then eventually get guys down, transition to the side control, transition to the back, and he gets like both matches, it's like the same exact finish, the flatten out, rear naked choke, and then just like the stretch to get the finish. Gets it done. So Ed Brazeley is now the heavyweight champion for Rise.
Yeah.
So potentially we're going to see him now defending. Again, he's another guy that we've seen look better and better. I think he's the champion for Sogi as well. I know he's a guy we're seeing on much more super fights recently, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him defending the Rise belt here in a little bit.
Absolutely.
Anything else on Rise?
No, that's it.
All right. So moving to the preview sections, we have the UAEJJF, the AJP, the World Jiu-Jitsu Tour, Queen of Mats. This is the, Queen of Mats. I was going to say King of Mats, Queen of Mats, but this is just the Queen of Mats. This is the first time that UAEJJF, the Abu Dhabi Jiu-Jitsu Pro Tour, has run a women's championship event like this. So the King of Mats is basically, they get a bunch of Grand Slam winners that have won one of the 4 or 6 Grand Slams that UAEJJF puts on throughout the year, throughout the world. And they've run it for the men a bunch of times. This time they're running it for the women, and man, is the lineup good, Emil.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. So we have Talita Alencar, Maisa Bastos, Bianca Basilio, who just won ADCC, Amal Amjahid, Luisa Monteiro, and Ana Rodriguez. That's huge. So the way Queen of Mats is going to be run, in case you're not familiar with this format, the 6 competitors are broken off into 2 groups.
Yep.
They will round robin, and then the 2 best from each group will proceed in the semifinals.
Is it 6 or is it 8 usually?
It's 8 typically.
Okay, for the men, it's usually, and that's why I didn't want to speak out of turn here, but I usually thought for the men, they usually run 2 groups of 4.
They do,
So for the women, they're running 2 groups of 3.
Right.
And I didn't know if they were going to run it differently, but in the press release that we have here, it actually states that they're going to run it like the same thing. So 2 groups of 3. Dude, this would be a lot of... these are always really, really fun because you can follow... I think this is actually streaming on Flow now as well.
Yeah.
Yes, the last couple of them we had to kind of search around to find, but I'm happy because usually production for these when they're on Flow is just...
a lot better.
It's usually one of the best produced events that we ever see. They have multiple camera angles. They have eye in the sky. They have instant replay. Just the way that they run the rule set for the Jiu-Jitsu Pro Tour is just like... it makes it feel like a professional level like event.
Yeah.
And it feels like judo, like you're watching like professional judo, like a real like it's got that air to it. The commentary is always usually great.
Yeah.
So looking forward to this one. You gotta make a pick.
That's a tough. I'm gotta.
We just saw Alencar win last weekend, but Bianca.
Dude, you can't discount Maisa either. Like, she's been on a tear this year anyway. So
only woman to have won her weight class since it was introduced in 2017.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have to go with my son on this one. Like, she's been in the gi. She's just unstoppable.
Yeah,
So,
she's tough to beat, dude.
Yeah.
It's exciting. There's a lot of honestly, I think we're gonna see a couple upsets in this, and it wouldn't surprise me to see some like really great finishing sequences. For some reason, just the way that the UAEJJF run, the Jiu-Jitsu Pro Tour runs, we tend to see a lot of like finishes.
Yep.
And I'm not really certain as to why or what about the rules. That
we know
stalling
why,
penalties.
man. We know.
Because they go for the gold.
They go for the gold in 6 minutes.
6 minutes. Yeah, 6 minutes. So like you can always watch these things full because the matches are 6 minutes. Like
And they're always
8
entertaining.
with walkout.
I can't remember the last time. I can't think of a time that I've watched a UAEJJF event and not been wildly entertained.
No, they pick the athlete selection is always great. The way they run it is always great. The production is always great. If we can find it, like it's one of your favorite events to cover for sure.
In the gi, yeah, hands down. That's my favorite.
Super looking forward to this one. It's going to be great. So moving on to our preview of Fight to Win 130 that takes place in Denver, Colorado. This one is main evented by a black belt heavyweight title, Tim Spriggs versus Herber Santos.
Yeah, that's going to be a fireworks match.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause Tim Spriggs is the former title holder. He lost that, I think, in Maryland to Gutenberg Pereira. Pereira had it for a little bit, defended it for a while. Then Herbert took it off him with a toe hold. We've seen Herbert defend the title now. Nicholas Margali dropped out of this matchup versus Herbert, and Tim Spriggs is here to replace it. Winner of this matchup is probably going to face Kenan Duarte.
Yeah, this is going to be, either way, it's going to be explosive. It's huge.
This is the division I followed the most in Fight to Win, as you can tell.
Yeah.
Like, this is a super exciting matchup. I think and even Seth talked about this matchup in the interview. Like, he thinks it'll kind of bring the dog out of both guys because, like, Spriggs comes to bring it, especially if it's in the gi.
Yeah.
Like, Spriggs has the train wreck, and I think it's really going to, like, make Herbert aggressive.
Yeah.
And kind of bring that out of Herbert. And when you see him like get aggressive and like get amped, I think both these dudes can have just outstanding highlight reel performances. I hope they have someone that's going to keep these guys on the stage.
Yeah.
Because this is
I imagine Seth's going to be out there.
dude, this is a throw guys off the stage kind of matchup. I'm actually really curious to see if Spriggs is able to like hit the train wreck on Herbert.
Yeah, I don't know. I have seen Herbert get people can off balance him. It's definitely possible. He doesn't have like one of those unshakable bases. Like
No.
he's very explosive and
He's
usually
super explosive, and he can like he moves in a weird way for heavyweight.
Yeah.
Like he can just do stuff with his hips and his positioning. Like the thing that always strikes me the most is like watching Herber Santos sprawl out of guard.
yeah.
He sprawls out of guard, and he hits this really crazy 50-50 knee bar really frequently. Like from the top position, you're in 50-50, and he'll spin around and hit this knee bar. So it's like he has these two like things that you typically don't see at the heavyweight level. And so it'll be really interesting to see like... I honestly don't know who I'd pick here. Who'd you pick?
I'd go with Herbert.
He's tough to beat, man. He's also black belt world champion, from previous black belt world champion.
Yeah.
And it's in no-gi, I think I maybe give it to Spriggs, but in the gi, I think Herbert may have the edge here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So next one, anything else on that matchup? Mm-mm. Next match, we have a 185-pound black belt gi match from Mauricio Oliveira versus Manuel Hibomar. Another dope matchup.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. We have a 180-pound black belt gi match, Michael Oliveira Jr. versus Phil Lights. We have a 175-pound black belt no-gi match, John Combs versus Garrett Aldrich.
Is John Combs that heavy?
Yeah,
I remember him. I keep forgetting that he made a giant cut for Worlds this year, and he was like, I'm never making that cut again. For some reason, I keep having him at that weight class, but now I think he does walk around a little closer to 175.
130-pound black belt no-gi match, Karen Atunes versus Tubby Alkin. That's going to be awesome.
Mm-hmm. I think, honestly, one of these ladies is either the front runner or probably one match away from a title at the weight class here. I know both these women compete a ton on Fight to Win. I think Karen either just fought for the title or just had the title, but I feel like I've seen Karen in a title match before, and I think the same for Tubby, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Super heavyweight black belt no-gi match, Foster Bailey versus Tyler King. Heavyweight no-gi match.
Hold up. You skipped over that. That's James 300 Foster. No, yeah, I think that's James Foster Bailey. He's like 6'5", gigantic, built like a human tank. And Tyler King was on Philly, also like 6'5", built like a tank. And both these guys aren't like just like slow players. Both these guys will push a pace and actually like they have really great pressure on like movement. So this is gonna be fun. Men's heavyweight match, no-gi.
Mike Nichols versus Jose Luis Martinez. 255 15-pound black belt no-gi match, Don Westman versus Daniel Ripper. 210-pound black belt gi match, Adam Maslach versus Tiago Pereira.
That was my bad. The computer jumped on me and it threw off Emil.
200-pound black belt gi match, Jeff Ike versus Gilbert Smith. 190-pound black belt no-gi match, Justin Downing versus Eric Alkin. 185-pound black belt gi match, David Lucarelli versus Carlos Hernandez. 175-pound black belt gi match, Jeremy Hastings versus Evan Barrett. 140-pound black belt gi match, Rossi Snow versus Vanessa Wexler.
We've seen Vanessa, I think we've seen her in a couple black belt matches. She's had a little bit of trouble. She was the previous brown belt champion for Fight to Win, I want to say in 2018.
Yeah. I'm excited. Judo is back on Fight to Win. We didn't see it this past weekend, but coming up in Denver, we have 215-pound judo black belt match, Kedge Zawick versus Ian Staljak.
Those are big judo guys.
190-pound black belt judo match, Jesse Butler versus Alex Graves. 175-pound judo match, Adam Moyerman versus Toshi Nishimura. 155-pound judo match, Sophie Taisler versus Savannah Stacy. That's a ton of judo. That's going to be fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah. Moving to the brown belts for the ladies.
135-pound black belt no-gi title, Mo Black versus Sheila Lindsay.
Brown belt title.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Brown belt title.
Yeah, I was like, I'm pretty sure Mo Black's still the brown belt champion. So
Yeah. 205-pound Masters brown belt no-gi title match, Emil Fisher versus Bruce Bugby.
we've seen Emil Fisher. What did he win recently? I forget what he won recently, but he's, again, looked really good. He deserves to fight for the title. I think he has the title, actually, at Masters for brown belt. That's why.
185-pound no-gi brown belt match, Bojan Velisovic versus Ryan Casey.
There's some other brown belts on the card. Again, it looks like a really, really fun event. A lot of black belts on it. Anyone else that we recognize offhand? I don't think I see anyone. So, yeah, looks like a great event. Super excited about the main event. Could go either way, but it'll be a lot of fun regardless.
Hell yeah.
All right, that does it for this week. We're a little short, so actually Emil and I want to talk about, kind of bring on another segment. If you want to find more grappling stuff, you can always check us out on YouTube. We have some other interviews and other cool stuff that we're posting and producing there. But I mean, you want to talk about something to kind of round out the show.
Just the state of kind of professional jiu-jitsu right now. It's kind of amazing to see this awesome ecosystem of promotions coming through. Just this week, we got to preview, Queen of the Mats, which is a great new development.
Mm-hmm. First time AJP is running a professional women's event.
Yes, which is awesome. It's great to see that, and huge names on that card. Mm-hmm. And then we also got to talk about in news, Spider coming up next month. That invitational, that's a colossal amount of money, $250,000 worth of prizes.
That's very similar to the prize pool in ADCC.
Right, with a fraction of the competitors.
Right.
So we're starting to see this really, these events are not they're not in a vacuum anymore. There's a sustaining interest in these events.
The other thing that's really interesting now is we're starting to see people that can potentially be making their livelihood as competitors.
Right.
And that, I don't think we're not quite there yet, but when we started the show 2 years ago, a little more than 2 years ago,
we weren't quite there yet. No.
People really were having a difficult time making a living as competitors. Typically what people do, and even Keenan talked about this on an early episode of the Matt Burn podcast, was you go and you compete so that you can build fame, so that you can open up a school and be an instructor.
And then do seminars.
And do seminars and seminar tours. That's, you're making your money as an instructor doing seminars.
But now,
or having a gym.
look at the Meow Brothers. I'm fairly certain they don't really teach or...
I know they do teach. They do teach, but it's they're probably... They're winning events, and Margali is winning events.
That's their model, is to go out and do that, and
Gordon Ryan is winning events. He's producing instructional as well as he needs to see sponsorships. But between sponsorships and winning events, he probably earns the majority of his money through being a jiu-jitsu competitor. He doesn't have a school,
right?
Like, and so we're seeing guys that are actually able to make a living as straight competitors. And that's a huge shift, even from a couple years ago. Like, there weren't guys that I was aware of that were full-time competitors that were like, I mean, IBJJF,
I'm sure there were, but like now I think it's a way more sustainable kind of approach.
Yeah, there's not one guy doing it. Like, IBJJF just started paying out the black belt world champion like this last year.
Yeah, probably because they I'm sure are starting to see all of these promotions now, and particularly, and it's not just things like ADCC now. You have UAEJJF, which is a serious gi circuit. You know,
like with world championship that has some clout to it. Especially with stuff like the King of Mats, where it's like winning a world championship puts you on the short list to get an invitation to go to something with the King of Mats, which pays out a pretty decent sum of money as well.
You can see also with the quality of names that they're drawing to those events, like that you see world champs on that all over the place. So now IBJJF is starting to have to pay out as well to, basically just due to competition. And aside from that too, we're starting to see Fight to Win, which puts on weekly events now, and that's something.
We talked about this last week.
Yeah,
They've
exactly.
created a league. Like, I can follow who the Fight to Win heavyweight champion is, and as we do the show more and more, and as we cover it more and more, like, I guarantee I'll be able to follow like other weight classes more easily because, like, oh, I've been to this match. I remember who took this title, and like,
there's lineal championships.
Yeah.
Like the only other event really that like is big where people follow lineal championships is ADCC. There's one lineal champion
Because
and it happens every 2 years.
and so you got to follow 5 matches a decade.
Yeah.
And so, like, one thing I honestly would love to do more of, and I'm going to say it on air, so I have to do it, is I would love to create we've tried it before with Fight to Win, create a little bit of a database for who, and at the black belt adult level, just starting off, who has the title and who had the title, and start posting that on our website. So we can have like a week to week you can follow who has the championship belt in Fight to Win. Because we see these titles contested almost every week. There's a black belt men's or women's champion that is headlining an event, or a former champion headlining an event. And like, they've built, like, underratedly, Seth and Missy and all the whole team at Fight to Win has built a league of like professional and the top level professional grapplers, where it's like having the Fight to Win title like means something now. Like, you have to fight. Nobody's getting an easy black belt title shot at Fight to Win.
Right.
Like, Erberth is your champion.
Yeah.
Tim Spriggs was your previous champion. Gutenberg Pereira was your previous. Like there's no easy walkover matchup there for a title.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I just think it's really, really cool. So I'd love to do more of that in 2019 of like following the league and following like who has the titles and what organizations, because we have a bunch of organizations like Polaris has champions and Fight to Win has champions and Rise has champions. And it's like, and these champions, we're starting to see the cream rise to the top, where it's like there's very few professional organizations that have like a champion that's like, hasn't fought top competition. Like, we're seeing the meows on stuff constantly for things like Grapple Fest, and like, we're starting to see a lot of big pro organizations that have top grapplers as their gi and no gi champions.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really cool. And I would love to be able to do more with that to kind of help promote the sport moving into 2020.
Kasai has also like done
Kasai?
like has put on like really premier no-gi grappling events. So
And they're starting to throw gi matches in there as well in the undercard.
Yeah.
So they're not against doing the gi, but I think Rich talked about it in an interview, probably like 2017, maybe early at 2018, about like why they had shifted to no-gi and potentially not against doing the gi, but potentially bringing in gi in a little later. I just think there's enough organizations now that have like legitimate champions. We're still definitely in the wild west of professional grappling, but we're starting to move into much more structure of like league formats and like the ability to actually follow the sport week to week.
Yeah, I hope that things remain open right now. Like, it's great that no one promotion like locks, as of right now, like seriously locks their fighters into only their own promotion. I know ACB tried that. I think
ACBJJ did that for a little bit, and then they kind of
work out.
It didn't work out that way because. Actually, I can't really speak to why it didn't work out. I'm not going to pretend to even know. I was going to say something stupid, then I was like, no, I actually don't know what happened there, but I know that they had an exclusivity deal that when you were signed with ACBJJ, you couldn't compete anywhere else. But I think, at least in recent memory, I think there's been some other organizations that have tried this, but in recent memory, that was the only one. But they were actually paying huge amounts of money to those grapplers as well.
That's the thing, is I'm glad that we're in a place right now where that's not the case, so you get to see grapplers in these completely different rule sets and all that, and you don't have what happens in other sports where
a guy can't get a fight.
Yeah, exactly. Like these,
It's like,
two huge, awesome world champions in two completely different promotions that never get to square off.
UFC won't give me a matchup. You're like, I want to see you fight though. So it's like we have all these different. I mean, week to week. If you go on the grapplingrewind.com, you can look at our upcoming events list. I'm actually going to work on getting a past events list up there as well on a separate page. And you can see all the different organizations that have super fights week to week and like month to month. And there's a huge range of promotions. Like we have actually had to shift on this show from covering everything to kind of more selectively covering stuff just because there's now, when we started the show, we would cover 4 to 6 events on a really rare occasion. Now on a given weekend, it's very common that we have 4 events.
Yeah.
And as co-host and as analyst, like I can't do that to the event staff. I can't do that to Emil week to week. It's like, hey Emil, here's 6 events to cover. We had one week on the show, we had to cover 105 matches.
Yeah.
And it's not sustainable long term, so we've had to actually pare it down.
Not just that, but like, when you have events now where there are just world champs all over the like you can go and say, yeah, I'm going to prioritize watching these world champs or other really exciting fighters that are very active that we get to see a lot, that we know a lot about. That's another thing too, is like, just with the frequency, we're starting to see people a lot, we're starting to see just a greater frequency of these competitors.
If you want to be a professional grappler,
also as a spectator, I'm talking about from as a spectating standpoint, it's really great because, it's frustrating to see a guy in a really good match and then his next match is like 3 months later or something like that. You kind of forgot.
Okay, he competes at Euros and Worlds. It's like, and there are certain guys that run the IBJJF circuit, and that's fine.
Right.
But like we see guys a lot of times that are on the IBJJF circuit also taking super fights now or like refining their craft.
Two huge examples of this that are both insanely talented, insanely good. Both Mike Musumeci and Nicholas Marigali, we've seen both of them start to take on events. And actually, now that I think about it, about a year ago, those dudes were only worlds and like maybe a major or two.
Yeah, and they would do like the occasional, like I think Mikey Musumeci fought on ACBJJ like once or twice, I think. I know we covered him at least once, but again, ACBJJ hasn't run an event in a year, so I'm kind of blanking on
we're
what
starting
matchup.
to see them kind of come out a little bit more and really enter the fray, which is dope. So
we're starting to see guys compete in kind of a larger variety of professional events because they're getting paid now.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see guys in our sport, receiving a paycheck for going and competing, and it's like,
and to give you an example, like, again, Marigali, for a while, like he would only do the majors and stuff like that, and actually
he did Copa a couple times too.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the reason why he pulled out with Fight to Win, I think, had to do with just like
the timing on Spider.
Yeah, just
is what he cited.
Who knows? But that means that Nicholas Marigali has so many events coming up that he's like picking and choosing now.
Yeah,
I don't agree with the way that he pulled out a Fight to Win, and I really wanted to see him against Erberth.
I hope we're still going to see it. Like I would
eventually,
like to see. Yeah,
I hope to see
because they fought before back when Marigali was a brown belt.
I will say,
they got some bad blood, so I want to see the rematch.
Broadly speaking, it's awesome that competitors are that active now with completely,
I get to see guys that I like watching fight more frequently. Yeah. I get to cover the guys that I enjoy covering. I get to like talk about jiu-jitsu on a weekly basis for like a variety of guys. I'm seeing a guy that I like compete. If that guy wants to stay active, he has the means to do it. If it's a world-class level guy, promotions are flying them out to be main events on places and to, across the world, and they're going to do seminars. And like, it's just opening up professional grappling in a way that it wasn't opened like 3 years ago.
And I'd be curious to talk to some of these competitors too.
People that have been around a little longer,
that are on the circuit, and just ask them how they feel about this as a means of getting money, like doing a super fight versus going through a whole tournament, right? Like, that's, to me, and granted, I'm speaking out of complete ignorance, but it seems to me that would be a lot more desirable to take on a super fight.
I mean, Andre Gabas talked about it.
Yeah.
He goes, he's undefeated in super fights. He'd much rather fight through a super fight, have a super fight now, than like go through a tournament because he's proven himself in those. Like, he just wants to fight the one guy.
Right.
I think a couple other guys have talked about that too. It's like, yeah, I don't really. I'm trying to remember who told me this. I spoke to someone backstage at a Fight to Win within the last year, and I forget who told me, but they were like, yeah, I'm kind of not interested in like tournaments anymore because like I've kind of done that, and there's just not a lot of appeal to me. I'd much rather go in with a guy that I know I'm supposed to compete against. I can watch tape, I can prep for him.
Yeah.
He goes, I forget who, it's going to kill me who it was. I'm getting a little older.
Right.
You know, those tournaments are really hard on me and through my body.
Yep.
And it's just hard to get myself into that level of shape and that level of like getting beat up. And maybe I go through an entire camp and have one match and I'm done. The super fights, I can prepare specifically for something, and it's just a lot more palatable later in the career.
I will say that I still love tournaments. Like, you know,
yeah.
I because they hold a narrative through the event, which is really awesome. One of the reasons why ADCC is so amazing, because you get to see Lachlan Giles go on a run, right? It's like you get to see that you have the tenseness of watching your favorite fighters go match after match to see if they can progress. So I'm glad that there's both, and I think it's just a really exciting time for professional jiu-jitsu. I think it's really rad, and
dude, I'm
really
so excited for 2020.
Yeah,
we got some stuff in the back burner for 2020 that I cannot wait to talk about on the show.
Yeah,
and some stuff that's in progress and
hopefully expanding
changes.
What we deliver to you guys.
That's the hope. Basically, be able to produce more content and like be able to do more for professional grappling and with professional grappling. So some cool stuff coming down the pipe. Emil, you got anything else?
That's it.
All right. As always on the show, I'm your host, Maine, with my co-host,
Emil.
And we got the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mats. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.